I am going to give a short introduction to someone who I'm sure you all recognize. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the founder of Thales Academy, Mr. Bob Luddy. Would you welcome him?
Thank you. So one of the things you might be thinking, are entrepreneurs born or is it environmental? And I'm going to suggest maybe it's a little bit of each. So at a very young age, I had a high sense of wonder, and I wanted to learn how to do things. And we walked to school about 3/4 of a mile every day, and we were always trying to figure out faster routing, but we were also very aware of a safe routing, because some areas that we might go through would not be very safe. So we did the same thing the deer did. We went the fastest route possible that was safe. So I had some inclinations toward curiosity, learning, growth, and that could have gone into any field. It could have been a teacher, a physicist, or any other number of things, but it became channeled into entrepreneurship for one reason, and Dr. Bajan just spoke about that. I wanted freedom. And why did I want freedom? Because my father worked for the railroad, he had 8 children, and he really couldn't leave his job. And the railroad was not very pleasant to their employees in 1950. So you had large numbers of people that were trapped in their jobs, and no matter what they did, they really couldn't improve their situation. So I made a vow to myself, I will never be in that position. And that pushed me toward being more entrepreneurial. Also, my mother talked extensively about successful people. One was my uncle, who was a vending entrepreneur back in the 40s. Interesting comment, he went to his dad and said, and this is, keep in mind, this is 1948, would you lend me $5,000 to start a business? And his dad said to him, this is where the entrepreneurial instinct comes in. Well, did you ask for a raise first before you decided to go in business? And then before my uncle could respond, he said, and I'm saying a major raise. And my uncle said to his dad, no, I didn't ask for a raise. I just told you I want to start a business. Turns out his dad lends him the money, and the business becomes just tremendously successful. So think about the founding of this country. This is a very unique country and a very good country. In spite of what you hear constantly, it's the best country in the world, and that's evidenced by most of the people in the world want to come to the U.S. That's the market signal. So essentially, those individuals that came to America early on and continue to come invented a brand new country based on God-given freedom. So the first time in the history of the world, God-given freedom was enshrined in a Declaration of Independence and in law under the Constitution. And it was rough and tumble, but even de Tocqueville realized early on something really special is going on here. It's not going on in France and not going in Europe and not going on in any countries that I've ever been to. And even though it's very decentralized and it's very chaotic, it's actually working beautifully. Michael Novak wrote extensively on this. And one of the things he pointed out that by 1850, so in a relatively 60-year period of time, America was the leading economy in the world. It had more universities than Europe. People were ambitious. Yeah, there was fights, there was disagreements, there was all kinds of chaos going on. But out of that chaos came this tremendous country that provided opportunities to eventually 300 million people. So think about America creating a country. Some years ago, Tyler Cowen was here, who's an economist at George Mason, and he wrote a book called Average is Over. And we see this in play today. Why do some people make an enormous amount of money and many people don't make any money at all? So there's a whole lot involved in that. But part of it is what was brought up by Dr. Bajan. Those people strived hard, some of them maybe not legitimately, but for most of them, they were ambitious, they worked hard, and they got to very high levels. Whereas our school system has tended to produce a lot of mediocrity, and then once you get to a certain age, at your age, all opportunities are open to you. You can do anything you want in your lifetime. When you get to be 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, those opportunities are diminished. So what's the recommendation? Do everything you can to foster your career, to learn, to be around good people like Dr. Bijan. And he says that in the future, we all have to be innovative. Now we hear today a lot of talk about innovation, thinking outside the box. And most of it is just babble, if you get right down to it, because innovation is very hard. It's also very rare to have legitimate innovation. And it can take a tremendously long period of time. Bali Srinivasan, who's an Indian American, gives a little 15-minute speech. In the essence of a speech, he says we have voice. You can work inside of a company and make recommendations. And we have exit. Exit is the entrepreneurs. And the essence of a speech is those exiting in the software business are coming after your business. Think of Uber, think of Google took over the internet, think of Facebook took over popular culture, essentially TikTok. So exit can be very, very powerful. Some of it's harmful. So the winners of the future are like Dr. Bijan, they're going to be a little outside of the system. So you can go and you can get degrees, that's all good. Marcus Aurelius made the comment that when you complete your formal education, you're at the starting gate. That's where it puts you. And that starting gate means you have to learn even at a faster pace, and you have to suffer through learning how to compete in the world. So the winners of the future are going to exit, and you're in the right country to do that, because America loves exit, they love innovation, they love people with vision. And to do that, you're going to have to develop some kind of vision of where you want to go. You're going to have to want to pull away from the status quo, whereas most people feel very comfortable with the status quo. And then when you have a great idea, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have what I call the blockers. Okay, most people will not like your idea. And even internal to CaptiveAire, we've improved on this pretty dramatically. You have people that try to block every new idea because they're very comfortable in the status quo. So an entrepreneur has to be very tenacious to make their ideas present in a marketplace over a period of time. Bureaucracy is the adversary of the entrepreneur. If you look at, people tend to think that regulation is a really good thing. But what does regulation really do? It snuffs out innovation. You know, we're going to make the strictures so tight that you can't innovate. And that's why the message from Srinivasan is so important. The entrepreneur is going to figure out a way, regardless of what the system is, they're going to end run, they're going to go over the top, they're going to figure out a way to deal with these things. And CaptiveAire, my company, has consistently done that for 48 years. We're now engaged in the idea of completely transforming the HVAC industry. So we're only 5 years where we're heavily engaged in HVAC, and we have a plan to transform the industry. And if we gave it to our competitors, train carrier, what do you think they would do? They would just roll on the ground laughing. They would just say, those are foolish people. But they may not be laughing in the future, and I'll give you an example. In 1970, the Japanese introduced a car called Datsun. It was just a little car, very cheap, introduced in California. And the big three laughed at them. They're not laughing now because the Japanese, the Germans, the Koreans are dominant. And then we also have what we call groupthink. This is an important thing for you. Every individual has a capable of generating good ideas. All ideas come from the individual. They don't come from the groupthink. You could say we have collaboration. We build on each other's ideas. We take ideas in the past, we modify them, we change them. But every one of those ideas is unique to you as an individual. It's not a groupthink, it's not a collaboration, it's very unique. At CaptiveAire, we use this term, we don't use the term collaboration because it's been so abused, I'm not sure what it means. We use the word cooperation. We work together toward mutual outcomes, and we have agreements and we have disagreements. There's a little video I can get over to you from Steve Jobs, and the reporter says to him, well, Steve Jobs, does anybody actually challenge you on your ideas, and do you lose? And he said, yes, that's how it works. So we use the term no pride of authorship. If your idea is better than my idea, I want your idea, okay? Because we're trying to advance, we're trying to innovate. That takes a level of humility that has to be with you throughout your lifetime. If you look at the basic tenets, if you went back to the founding of CaptiveAire, looked at kitchen ventilation systems, and we came up with a chart, and we called it the maze of gimmicks. And we listed all these, quote, technologies within the kitchen ventilation industry. And we said every single one is bogus. So what we have to do is find new ideas that make sense. And how are we going to do that? We're going to come up with ideas, and we're going to test them in the lab. So if you come up with ideas, they have to be tested from the senses, in the lab, in the marketplace. We have labs and we have betas, and that's going to figure out whether these things made any sense or not. So if I looked at currently the HVAC business, here's what the two senior engineers and myself said. And you may say this is a very arrogant statement, and it probably is. We are rejecting everything that you are doing. We are rejecting it. And we are going to redefine it using new technologies that will produce superior results. Now, can you imagine if you went to a HVAC forum and you said that? They would want to run you out of town. They would want to take away your membership because you're not a good club member. You're not a good joiner. So what are we doing? We're acquiring knowledge. We have a product line we want to phase out, and we know customers will be unhappy if we phase it out. So we have a project underway to say, how can we figure out how to do that and keep our customers not only happy, but get them a better outcome? That project's underway right now. Within a few months, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to start testing it, okay? And we'll have fits and starts, but we're going to figure out how to do it. And those 2 to 3 engineers working with me on it, they're very determined to make it happen. And we're going to make decisions very quickly. And our competitors will think, well, we can get up on you because you're going to phase out this product. We'll keep making it. So yeah, you keep making that product, okay? We've done this many, many times, and you will fail. So making decisions quickly, but also making sure that they're accurate, that they're tested, they've gone through beta, that the information comes through the senses. I'll give you another point. Has anybody ever here heard of peer review articles? Dr. Bijan knows about peer review. Well, if you're really innovative in an industry, the peer reviewers want to pull out some of your ideas. They want to kill new ideas. That's what peer review does. So I said, so if you want to be in ASHRAE and HVAC magazine, they're all peer reviewed. So last time we did it, I was not very happy, and I said, okay, here's how we're going to solve that problem. We are going to send a letter to 100,000 engineers, users, and people affiliated with us. And we're going to say peer review has been put on the shelf. CaptiveAire does not do peer review, okay? Right up front. But we only bring to you highly tested, proven technologies, and we guarantee those technologies. If you adopt our technology, it's guaranteed it'll work. If you adopt a technology out of a magazine, it may work, it may not work. Who do you call when it doesn't work? Nobody. And interesting, one engineer called us immediately and said, I don't know if I agree with you, but you gave me something to think about. Well, it turned out, that was about 3 or 4 years ago, the engineers did agree with us. So we just shook that bond that I decided when I was in the 5th grade, you will not put me in bondage, okay? That will never happen in my lifetime. You can kill me, you can beat me up, but I will not be in bondage. Dr. Bijan didn't always have that same option because he would have been put in bondage. So making decisions quickly and never being satisfied with what you're doing. And here's an example. Most people, if they ascend to a high level in a corporation, they're pretty happy with themselves. The guy who's been with me for 25 years, who's the president of CaptiveAire Manufacturing, I called him at 7 in the morning. I know he's either at work or he's driving to work. And I said, "What are you thinking today?" He said, "I'm thinking the same thing I think every single day coming into CaptiveAire. How can I make major improvements? How can I get an innovative breakthrough? Or if I can't, how can I make small improvements?" So at 25 years down the line, he sharpened that mentality. And I would propose to you that of all the engineers in the HVAC industry today, he has no peers. And guess what? He loves his job. He's highly paid, he's highly respected. He's almost revered within CaptiveAire because other engineers say, "I just couldn't do what he does." So, well, you probably could do a little bit if you tried. Key attributes of entrepreneurs: alertness, paying attention. Most people, most of the time, are not paying attention to what's important. So if we're engaged in a business day, we are locked in to what we think is important that day. And I'll give you a frame of reference. T.J. Watson is the founder and prime mover of IBM. Still a pretty decent company. And someone says, "Well, we bring new ideas to you throughout the day, and you don't even talk to us." And he held up a yellow pad and said, "I have a list of what's going to be accomplished today. Nobody's going to interfere with that. You can get in the queue, but you don't walk in here and tell me what I'm going to do today." So this man was very determined, and probably in 1950, he was the most important business leader in America today. Because that brute determination, intelligence, ability to work with people. He put think signs all over IBM. And people said, "Why are you doing that? Don't we all think?" And he said, "No, that's why I put the signs up, okay? I'm trying to make it obvious to you." So Kirshner, who was a student of Mises, a brilliant guy, said, "Alertness is a key attribute of entrepreneurs. And if you're not alert, you're not going anywhere because you're not paying attention. You're not making observations. Someone else is going to make those observations, and they're going to make that change. And if you don't do it, you may end up with a seat on the bench. If you watch business and industry, you see it every single week. Why businesses fail, why individuals fail. So I came up with the term, be bold, be willing to take risks, but be right. What does that mean? You do your homework. You do your testing. You do your beta. You present it to a Dr. Bijon and said, "Can you tear my idea apart?" And he will for you, hopefully. So you have to plan, think, test, and become a better thinker. You just don't go out and do something bold. Now, Jean-Baptiste was an economist, Frenchman, early 19th century. And he basically said that overall supply before demand, or supply creates demand. Economists argue about the wording, but supply and then demand. What does the government say? Demand creates supply. Did demand create the iPhone? I don't think so. Did demand create modern CaptiveAire? No. We completely redefined the industry with the way we approach the industry. We set all the standards in the industry. And here's another little tidbit. Someone called the other day and said, "Could we assign a full-time person to change the building codes because they're always obsolete?" I said, "No, we don't do that. The building codes will follow us. And if you look over a 30-year period, the building codes followed CaptiveAire, and we didn't do anything to change it, okay? Because we're not going to put energy into bureaucracy." So bringing new offerings to the market is what creates future demand, and it also grows the economy. So you all have nice shirts on. You don't need a shirt today, but if you see an ad on the way home of a shirt that's attractive to you, you may run out and buy that shirt that you didn't need. That's an expansion of the economy. That's an example of how the economy expands. So visualizing what the future may be, and here's what people will say, even on their own company. "Yeah, Bob, I know you have these ideas for the future, but we're just right here today trying to get in order." So they can't leave today and think at all about tomorrow. And they don't even think tomorrow is going to be any different than today, because they never met Dr. Bejan. They never met flow. They never met the constructal law. So innovation is continuous, but it's also rare. So if you look at the history of CaptiveAire, there's maybe 7, 8 major innovations in 47 years. There's 10,000 or 100,000 small changes we call Kaizen. So the small changes are on the same parallel with the big breakout. If you never innovate, you go out of business. If you don't improve, someone else puts you out of business. Perseverance is key. In the entrepreneurial world, when all else fails, what you have left is your personal grit, your personal perseverance. In 1988, I changed the metal from 430 stainless steel to 340 stainless steel. We were a relatively small company. We were about a $10 million company. We're going to change the whole industry. People are screaming at me. Several employees walked out the door and said, you're going to put this company out of business with these stupid ideas. That was 1988. By 2000, CaptiveAire dominated commercial kitchen ventilation. We were the dominant company based on that and a couple other changes. Moving to computerized hydraulics out of Europe, finding new flow processes to produce goods faster on assembly lines. And here's the end result. In 2007, 2008 timeframe, the entire food service industry, to the extent they could, adopted 430 metal. It's a universal standard all over North America. Because it's cheaper, it's perfectly suited, there's no problem with it, but it took them 20 years to change. And the ones who changed first obviously did the best. So it was a big change, it was a big risk. I did my homework, lasted about a month. We were determined, we knew the material was right. We brought it in, we tested it, we learned how to work with it. And then I realized that the automobile companies used 430 metal for trim on automobiles. So when I talked to the manufacturer, I said, are you telling me that Detroit puts this trim on automobiles in Detroit and gives them a salt bath all winter, and it's still okay? And he said, that's what I'm telling you. I said, okay. That's a major marker point. Proved out to be correct. CaptiveAire started with no money, no knowledge of the industry. And if he went to a B school, they would say, that guy's a real idiot. He didn't follow any of the rules. But here was the advantage. If you don't have any money, you have to win every day. You have to learn how to be very shrewd to get through the next day. And also, you have to have an enormous and rapid learning curve. So in about a 3-year period of time, we learned the kitchen ventilation industry, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that's what vaulted us into becoming a kitchen ventilation manufacturer. If you look at today, CaptiveAire is more dominant today in spite of companies that, I think we started with 25 competitors. There's 2 or 3 left. There's a couple of small shops here and there. Basically, the industry was wiped out from innovation. That's how real entrepreneurial companies grow and continue. And if you look at a company that started with no money, we make a fully integrated system, including controls, interface to the internet, sustainable over a long period of time, able to fix little problems online out of our Utah center. That's all rapid learning curve, moving as fast as you can, every day getting better, never being satisfied with where you're at. So let's talk about some basic skills. We talked about alertness. If I had to come down with one skill, successful entrepreneurs are thinkers. Dr. Bejan has a famous quote about that. The thinker will outperform the person that does the algorithms, that only knows how to do the algorithm. The thinker will outperform them because they could write the algorithm. Execution is huge. You can think about a lot of things, but if you don't do them, you're just thinking about them. We talked about Kaizen, continuous improvement, constant growing, exit, being willing to make a bold move within your life. I was working in LA in 1974, and I made a decision that I just couldn't make it in LA. I don't have any money, I don't have good contacts, I just can't make it. Decision, right or wrong. I moved to Raleigh, no job, no contacts. I got here and said, gosh, maybe that wasn't the best idea in the world. But I said, I've already made the commitment, I'm already here, I have to make it work. So when we're under a lot of pressure and we have to do things, sometimes it brings the best out in us. Rejection of the status quo. We only reject the status quo when we have improvement. Now we say, has anybody ever got some software, new and improved software, it doesn't work as well as the old software? That is not Kaizen, that is not innovation, it's nonsense. I see it happen all the time. Virtuous leadership. Very successful entrepreneurs are virtuous, and they're leaders, and they're courageous. Value creation, you know what value creation is? It's what you want and what you like. So if I bring something you like, that's value creation at the price. If I bring you something that I like, you may have no interest in it. So it's very important to understand we're designing systems and products for users, and the user determines the value. So I can say, I have the greatest hood in the market, so what? If the buyers don't affirm that claim, then I don't have the greatest hit in the market. Or I might have the greatest hit in the market, but I don't know how to market it or something else. And this idea of creativity, here is a charge from my mother, and I'll give you the same charge. All problems are solvable. Any problem in your life is solvable. And the second thing she says, it's your job to figure out how to solve them. So the nature of my mother was, we're not here to babysit you. You figure it out on your own. You have a good brain. You're supported by your parents. And in my day, parents were pretty liberal about what they let us do. As long as we didn't get into trouble, we had a kind of wide range of what we were allowed to do. In terms of academic preparation, Austrian economics, for those who don't know, is free market economics. Dr. Bijan knows Austrian economics better than most economists. Business law is important. The tort law requires study. It requires studying the law. Understanding accounting. CaptiveAire has the most pristine balance sheet in almost any industry. That took a long time to get there, but we got there because we had the goal to get there. You need technical and non-cognitive skills. You need management skills. You need people skills. All these things are imperative. So business fuels our society. In spite of all the warts, in spite of all the things that go wrong in America, America's still going along pretty well. Most people are eating pretty good. Most people are living in luxury, in spite of all the things that have gone wrong. So the American dream is alive and well. It will always be challenging. Anybody that doesn't know it, the barbarians never left the planet, and they have no intention of leaving. Okay, so we're going to have this chaos going on within society when you're my age. We got to put it aside, try to stay away from it, and move to a better place. I finished right on time, as promised.
We have a few minutes, and so we would like to know if anyone has any question that they would like to ask. And this is a good time to ask the founder of the school anything. Maybe not anything. We'll see. But does anyone have any question? And I'll bring the microphone to you.
Must have given them too much to think about.
Well, after, by accident, I got to know Mr. Luddy, I started to think about entrepreneurship. And I asked myself, what is the meaning of the word entrepreneur? Yeah, the word. Never mind the activity, but the word. And as usual, the word teaches you a lesson. The word entrepreneur is French. It comes from two words. Prendre, that's the second half of the entrepreneur, means to catch something. Entre means between. So what is that? First of all, you catch it between your hands. And you have to do something with it. This is what the entrepreneur does from the beginning of the history of the word. The other name for it is the doer, the one who seizes the opportunity or the day. You've heard of carpe diem, seize the day. That is a talent, and deserves to be taught. First, it deserves to be recognized and valued and saluted, and then followed. It's a very good lesson that comes from the word.
Anyone else have a question? Thank you for that, Dr. Bejan. Really appreciate the lesson. I have a question. Aaron.
Hi. Earlier in your, speech, you essentially we're talking about not being in the position of where you had to basically succumb to other people and you had freedom. So I wanted to ask, do you mean specifically financial freedom? And if not, what are you referring to? Thank you.
I wouldn't say I had a lot of financial freedom because I was pretty much broke until I was 40. But I got by. I had freedom in my own mind that I would be free, which is why I started various businesses. I had a business in college. We made fiberglass reinforced plastic. When I was in the Army, the sergeant major made me work with him. We rented TVs. So I was always engaged in some type of enterprise. When I was in both high school and grade school, I had little businesses. I would pass out circulars. I would babysit. I would do all kinds of things to earn money. I worked at the drugstore for 3 years in high school and 2 years in college. So I was always engaged, and I was always finding people like Dr. Bijan who could teach me something throughout my entire lifetime, including others, Ken Iverson, who is the founder of Nucor Steel. I got to spend really about an hour with him, and CaptiveAire is operating today based on what he told me in that hour. So you can't underrate what you can learn very quickly. And I think one lesson I have is there's very important things that we can learn in minutes. Now, that's not true of everything. It doesn't work that way in physics or math, etc. But there's important life skills that we can learn quickly. Marcus Aurelius, when you leave the school, your studies begin. The suffering begins, okay? He makes it real clear, okay? If you say, a lot of times I ask, these are graduate engineers, we're interviewing them for a job. What are your aspirations? I want to get an apartment with my girlfriend, and I want to get a steady income coming in. Okay, really good, huh? Anything else? No, that's pretty much it. I'm like, whoa! Then I say to him, can you just make something up? Just make up anything. Most of them can't do it because they've never thought any further that, oh, I'm out of college, now you mail me checks and I have fun. Oh, those people don't work for us.
May I ask you a question?
Please.
I recognized a lot of the words and the references you were making as central to Thales Academy and how we think about things. Could you explain, or from your perspective, why starting a classical liberal arts school was such an entrepreneurial innovation for you?
Well, K-12 school has been a monopoly for 150 years. And the monopoly thinks they're amazing. I won't say what I think they are, but we'll skip the disparagement. I don't think they're amazing, okay? So in '98, I had an opportunity to get a charter for a public charter school. It came in March of '98. I wanted to open the school in July because it's a year-round school. We had a management company that was going to help us. So they came down and said, we're going to help you open the school, but it's not going to be until July of '99, a year out. And I said, no, I need it in '98. And they said, no, you can't open it till '99. I said, you're fired, get out of the building. So that put the burden on me. We did open that school. And I told the teachers, we were a K-5, the day it opens, it should look and feel like we've been in business for 10 years, because we know how to do this thing. And the bar of the competition is so low, it's laughable. In year 2, we had to go to the state prescribed lottery. So fast forward, there was a good learning curve with the charter school, but I didn't want to do any more. Why? Freedom and evolution. I wanted to evolve to private. Well, the problem with private schools, they evolve. I went to Catholic school for free at no cost. Now Catholic schools, sky high cost. So they pushed everybody out except people that had a lot of money. That's a bad idea. So my idea was, if it's not affordable by average families, now they may have to make a sacrifice, then it's not going to fly. And I did the same thing with the school system that I did with kitchen ventilation. Everything they're doing is assumed to be wrong. If we figure out something they're doing wrong, we'll pull it over, okay? It's a whole different way of looking at the world. Everything you're doing, I'm declaring to be incorrect, wrong, bad idea. Obviously, we pulled some of those ideas over. Everybody does a few things right. So it's a different mentality shift. And now we have, this summer, we'll have close to 7,000 students from all kinds of varieties of people. And the other purpose of the school is to say, this could be the greatest school on the planet. And here's what people would say, well, you have all the smart kids, and you're the best teachers, anybody could do that. But if you had 25 of these schools, you would say, scattered around North Carolina, how is it that we always get the smartest kids and the best teachers? That's something to think about. So creating models that convince people there's a better way to do it is what I do. But it comes with a high degree of rejection of the status quo. So if you ask our senior engineer, what are you doing with HVAC? And he says, put it all in the garbage. We don't need any of it. It's all wrong-headed. And fast forward 10 years from now, you can look us up. We're going to prove it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Luddy. Would you, thank you. Would you take a moment, please?